The $1 Million Quartet comes together on this date. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is December 4th, 2023. It is the 338th day of the year. There are 27 days left in 2023. It is the 49th Monday in the 49th week and the 73rd day of fall. You got 70... Can't even speak today. You got 17 days left until winter. Today is National Dice Day. Dice have been popular throughout the world, sometimes in various shapes and forms, and a lot of them have different things on each side. It's not always 1 through 6. Dice have been found at various archaeological sites throughout the world, all the way back to ancient Egypt. They've probably been around since civilization started. We quit living in caves and someone decided to get their spear, that fancy new bow and arrow thing, and their set of dice and move out to the plains. Most people think that dice are just used for gambling, but the reality is they're used in board games, backgammon. At my house, when my kids were young, whoever rolled a higher number got to choose something first. Like if, who gets to go first on this, roll the dice, we'll figure it out. If you ever get a chance and you've never played, look at all the Dungeons and Dragons dice. They go a 20-sided dice, 10-sided, 12-sided, 8-sided dice. Of course, the standard 6-sided dice and a 4-sided dice. Looks like a little pyramid. Triangular pyramid, I should say. I'm sure there's a name for a 3-sided pyramid. Well, actually it would be 4 sides, 1, 2, 3, and then the bottom one. I'm sure some of you school teachers out there know. All right, let's see what else December 4th has given us. 1783, at Fraunces Tavern in New York City, U.S. General George Washington bids farewell to his officers. That bar, that tavern, is still going. It's a tavern and a museum now, but if you're ever in New York City, go by and see a piece of history. 1945, by a vote of 65-7, the United States Senate approves the United States participation in the United Nations, or the UN. It was established on October 24th, 1945. There's a lot of reasons for the United Nations, but basically it was, hey, we just saw what Germany did twice. Why don't we get together and try and make sure it doesn't happen again? Norm Macdonald, the late great comedian, he had a great bit about how Germany's just very arrogant. In World War I, they decided not to go to war with another country. They'd go to war against the world. It didn't work out for them, and they figured they made a mistake someplace, so they thought they'd try it again. 1956, the $1 Million Quartet gets together at Sun Studios for the first and last time. The $1 Million Quartet consisted of Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, and Johnny Cash. 1978, following the murder of Mayor Moscone, Dianne Feinstein becomes San Francisco's first female mayor. 1986, the MV Amazon Venture oil tanker begins leaking oil while at the port of Savannah in the United States in Georgia, resulting in an oil spill approximately 500,000 U.S. gallons. 2017, the Thomas Fire starts near Santa Paula, California. It eventually became the largest wildfire in modern California history to date after burning 440 square miles. A friend of mine who I went to school with, and I actually know her brother really well, we were comedians together for years, she lost her brand new house. She hadn't even been in there a year, and that thing burned to the ground because of the Thomas Fire. The fire started in Ventura County and rapidly spread due to the strong Santa Ana winds. Dry conditions and rugged terrain also fed into the problem. Now, if you've never grown up in Southern California or if you've never visited, we have these things called the Santa Ana winds. I know older people called them the Santana winds, but growing up, everyone knows them as the Santa Ana winds. These things can get going to the point where they knock over semi-trucks on the highway occasionally, and they bring in this hot air from the desert. The fire engulfed large areas across Ventura and Santa Barbara counties, demonstrating the extreme vulnerability of these regions to wildfires. This inferno was unprecedented in its scope and intensity. It destroyed over 1,000 structures, including homes and businesses, and forced the evacuation of more than 100,000 California residents, illustrating the profound human and material impact of such a natural disaster. This thing was horrible. I had taken a train down to California when this was going on, and it was, I would say, about 2 weeks after they got it under control, so the train actually started going up and down. If you don't know, I love to take the train across the country, and sometimes if I go down to Los Angeles, if I have to fly down for a family thing or something, I'll fly down and then I'll take the train home. But the whole way down, the air was just orange. That's the best way to describe it. It was just orange. It was horrible. The firefighting efforts of the Thomas Fire were massive and challenging, involving thousands of firefighters from various agencies who battled the blaze for several weeks. The fire's intensity and the difficult terrain made it particularly hard to contain. and it was fueled further by the region's prolonged drought conditions and the accumulated dry vegetation. The Thomas Fire also had a significant environmental impact, including air quality, like I'd mentioned, and the destruction of wildlife habitats. Its aftermath raised concerns about mudslides and flooding, and especially in the burn areas. Now, if you don't know, once this happens like every single year in California, we get a fire, all the vegetation is killed. That means it doesn't hold the land to the hillsides like it should. So the rains come around November and we just start getting mudslides. I keep saying we like I still live there. I haven't lived there in 13 years now. This catastrophic fire highlighted the growing severity and frequency of wildfires in California, prompting discussions and initiatives aimed at improving fire management, prevention strategies, and emergency response systems. I think they need like 20 of those super scooper planes that, go over the ocean, they pick up water, and then they go fly off. It's really neat plane. I think back in 2017, California had one and they leased some from Canada and stuff like that. And then they had problems where Canada was using theirs for their own fires and California didn't have enough. California gets these every single year, so it's not like a surprise that they need them. They should have a fleet of these things. I don't know if it was on this channel or my other channel, but I just talked about this. These super scooper planes, we now have like 15 across the different agencies of the United States. The western half of the United States honestly needs like 40 of these things. Premiered on December 4th, 2022, George and Tammy. This is a dramatic television miniseries that tells the story of the power couple George Jones and Tammy Wynette. Their relationship led to some of the most iconic country music songs of all time. My mom listened to country music when I was young, and I know Tammy Wynette. I don't know George Jones. I did watch this series, though. It was very interesting. Would I go out of my way to watch it? No, but it's worth watching if you can't find anything else to watch on Netflix. The series is based on the book The Three of Us, Growing Up with Tammy and George. Born on December 4th, 1973, Tyra Banks. Tyra Banks is one of the first people I've ever seen on the cover of a magazine back when she was a model, and just actually stopped in my tracks. She was the most amazing looking Sports Illustrated cover model I had ever seen. And that's saying a lot if you know the women that had been on that magazine over the years. This was probably like 97, 98. But now she's one of the world's most influential people, they say. She created the television series America's Next Top Model and a makeup line called Tyra Beauty. She went on to host the Tyra Banks Show from 2005 to 2010. I did not know it only lasted that long. Anyway, she also is an actress. She's been in a couple movies. She gained fame for appearing on the cover of Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue twice and modeling as one of the original Victoria's Secret's angels. Died on December 4th, 1993, Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa is a very interesting individual. I've watched interviews with him. He's a musician, kind of this punk rock, weird music from back in the 70s and 80s. He was in the band Mothers of Invention from 1964 to 1969. Now, what I've always found interesting about him is he's incredibly intelligent. I've seen interviews with him where he's going with his major intellectuals and politicians, and he just kind of runs circles around them. What it really seemed like is they had a point they were trying to make and they were sticking to their talking points, and I think they always assumed he was an idiot because he had long hair and whatever. But he was a very intelligent man. Watch some interviews with Frank Zappa someday. It's kind of interesting. Doesn't have to be your type of music, doesn't have to be your type of person. Just watch and you'll be surprised how smart he is by the way he looks. That's the takeaway. Don't judge a book by its cover. Frank Zappa died from prostate cancer on December 4th, 1993, 17 days shy of his 53rd birthday, at his home with his wife and his children by his side. At a private ceremony the following day, his body was buried in a grave at the Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery in Los Angeles. The grave has since been unmarked. On December 6th, his family publicly announced that composer Frank Zappa left for his final tour just before 6 p.m. on Saturday. That's how they announced his death. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, and be nice to each other.